A millionaire met his fiancée's family, but their whispered secret changed his life. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where things aren't exactly as they seem? Let's take a look at the story of Liam Parker. He never expected that one evening would change his entire life. Liam, a successful tech millionaire, had been living the life many would dream of. But even with his wealth and success, something was always missing. He had all the luxury and status, but it felt empty. He was engaged to Emma Brooks, a woman from a well-off family. And although they seemed like the perfect match, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One evening, he was finally invited to meet her family. It was meant to be the first time they would all come together. As he walked up to her family's grand mansion, the cold wind biting at his skin, Liam couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and unease. Was he ready to finally meet the people who would become his new family? He tried to push away the feeling, focusing instead on the sleek black car that had driven him up the long driveway. It was a beautiful home, with high columns and pristine stonework, but the closer he got, the more it felt like he was about to step into something that wasn't entirely for him. Emma's family had always been a mystery to him. He had met her friends, but her parents remained a distant figure. Tonight, that would change. Stepping inside the mansion, Liam was greeted with the usual charm. The family, although kind, seemed a bit too polished, a bit too perfect. The conversation flowed smoothly, but there was an undeniable tension in the air. As dinner was served, Liam caught snippets of whispered conversations. He didn't think much of it at first, but as the night wore on, he realized that something wasn't right. He glanced at Emma, noticing how her eyes darted around the room, her nervous laughter masking her unease. It was then that Liam started to pick up on the subtle signs that something was off. When the family members excused themselves to the other room, Liam was left alone with Emma. He turned to her, ready to ask her about the odd vibe in the room. But before he could speak, Emma took a deep breath, her face suddenly serious. "Liam, there's something I need to tell you," she said softly. He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What could it be? She hesitated before continuing. "You've met my family, but there's something you don't know about them, about me." The words hung in the air. Liam's heart skipped a beat. Was this a confession about her past? About something that might change the way he saw her? He wasn't prepared for what came next. "Liam, I didn't want to tell you this now, but I think you need to know. My family, they've been in financial trouble for years. The business they've built is crumbling, and they've been relying on me to keep it afloat," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam was stunned. He had no idea. The family that had seemed so perfect, so untouchable, had been hiding such a huge secret. His mind raced as he tried to process what Emma was saying. Did she feel obligated to keep up the facade for her family? Was their relationship real, or had it always been about appearances? As he sat there, lost in his thoughts, Emma's words sank in deeper. She wasn't just asking for his understanding. She was asking for his trust. But could he trust her? Could he trust the family she had grown up with? Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where things aren't exactly as they seem? Let's take a look at the story of Liam Parker. He never expected that one evening would change his entire life. Liam, a successful tech millionaire, had been living the life many would dream of. But even with his wealth and success, something was always missing. He had all the luxury and status, but it felt empty. He was engaged to Emma Brooks, a woman from a well-off family. And although they seemed like the perfect match, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One evening, he was finally invited to meet her family. It was meant to be the first time they would all come together. As he walked up to her family's grand mansion, the cold wind biting at his skin, Liam couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and unease. Was he ready to finally meet the people who would become his new family? He tried to push away the feeling, focusing instead on the sleek black car that had driven him up the long driveway. It was a beautiful home, with high columns and pristine stonework, but the closer he got, the more it felt like he was about to step into something that wasn't entirely for him. Emma's family had always been a mystery to him. He had met her friends, but her parents remained a distant figure. Tonight, that would change. Stepping inside the mansion, Liam was greeted with the usual charm. The family, although kind, seemed a bit too polished, a bit too perfect. The conversation flowed smoothly, but there was an undeniable tension in the air. As dinner was served, Liam caught snippets of whispered conversations. He didn't think much of it at first, but as the night wore on, he realized that something wasn't right. He glanced at Emma, noticing how her eyes darted around the room, her nervous laughter masking her unease. It was then that Liam started to pick up on the subtle signs that something was off. When the family members excused themselves to the other room, Liam was left alone with Emma. He turned to her, ready to ask her about the odd vibe in the room. But before he could speak, Emma took a deep breath, her face suddenly serious. "Liam, there's something I need to tell you," she said softly. He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What could it be? She hesitated before continuing. "You've met my family, but there's something you don't know about them, about me." The words hung in the air. Liam's heart skipped a beat. Was this a confession about her past? About something that might change the way he saw her? He wasn't prepared for what came next. "Liam, I didn't want to tell you this now, but I think you need to know. My family, they've been in financial trouble for years. The business they've built is crumbling, and they've been relying on me to keep it afloat," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam was stunned. He had no idea. The family that had seemed so perfect, so untouchable, had been hiding such a huge secret. His mind raced as he tried to process what Emma was saying. Did she feel obligated to keep up the facade for her family? Was their relationship real, or had it always been about appearances? As he sat there, lost in his thoughts, Emma's words sank in deeper. She wasn't just asking for his understanding. She was asking for his trust. But could he trust her? Could he trust the family she had grown up with? After Emma's confession, Liam sat frozen in his chair. The words hung in the air, heavy with a sense of disbelief. He had always thought of Emma as someone who had everything together, the picture-perfect woman from a successful, well-off family. But now, sitting in this grand mansion surrounded by opulence, he couldn't help but feel the weight of her words crash down on him. Her family, the very ones who had appeared so flawless, were in financial turmoil. And all this time, Emma had been silently shouldering the burden of their struggles. He rubbed his temples, trying to wrap his mind around it all. Emma, noticing his discomfort, placed a hand on his arm, her touch gentle. "I didn't want to keep this from you," she said, her voice filled with remorse. "I thought I could handle it on my own, but now, it's affecting everything, and I don't know what to do." Liam leaned back in his chair, looking into her eyes, trying to understand. The weight of her secret was overwhelming. He had spent his entire life building his empire, priding himself on honesty and transparency. But Emma, his fiancée, had been living a completely different reality. His gaze drifted to the family portraits. On the wall, the smiling faces of her parents and siblings frozen in time, hiding the chaos behind the scenes. "So what now?" he asked quietly, unsure how to move forward. Emma looked away, biting her lip, clearly torn. "I don't want you to think less of me, Liam. I love you, but I can't ignore the responsibility I feel toward my family. They need me." Liam let out a deep breath, trying to process everything. He understood her desire to help her family, but this level of secrecy was something he couldn't easily overlook. They had been planning their future together, but now, it felt like their foundation was cracked, fragile. He stood up and walked toward the window, staring out at the sprawling estate. The cool night air brushed against his face, and for a moment, he allowed himself to clear his head. Was this the woman he thought he knew? Or was there still so much more to learn about her? He had always valued transparency and truth. Was he willing to sacrifice his own principles for love? The questions swirled in his mind, making it hard to focus. Emma's voice broke through his thoughts. "Liam, please say something." He turned to face her, seeing the vulnerability in her eyes. She was right. They needed to talk. They couldn't just sweep this under the rug. Taking a deep breath, he finally spoke. I need time to think, he said, his voice steady. This is a lot for me to process. But I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. Emma nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I don't want to lose you. She reached for him, but Liam gently pulled back. You haven't lost me. But we need to figure this out, together. The words felt heavy, but they were true. He cared about Emma, but this was a crossroads. He wasn't sure where their relationship was heading, but he knew one thing for certain. He couldn't ignore what he had just learned. As the night stretched on, Liam found himself alone in the guest room, replaying the conversation in his mind. He could still feel the weight of Emma's words, the unspoken truth about her family, and the emotions that had stirred inside him. What kind of man would he be if he just walked away from this? What kind of future could they have if they couldn't even trust each other with the truth? The next morning, as the sun rose over the mansion, Liam made up his mind. He needed to talk to Emma again, to hear her side of the story, and to understand where they went from here. He couldn't keep ignoring the elephant in the room. But before he could act on his decision, he received an unexpected message, a call from his business partner, asking for a meeting. He glanced at the time. He couldn't afford to push it off any longer. But something inside him told him that this meeting with Emma wasn't going to be the last time they talked about the future. As he prepared to leave, he took one last look at the room, the life he had once dreamed of with her. He wasn't sure what the future held, but one thing was clear: everything had changed. The next day, Liam sat at his desk, his fingers absently tapping against the surface as his mind replayed the events of the night before. The conversation with Emma had left him unsettled, questioning everything about their relationship. He cared for her deeply, but how could he trust someone who had kept such a huge secret from him? The image of her tearful eyes, filled with regret, kept coming back to him, but so did the nagging feeling of betrayal. He had always prided himself on being transparent and honest, and he couldn't shake the sense that Emma had been hiding something crucial. Was love enough to overcome this? Or was this secret just the first crack in their perfect facade? Just as he was about to call Emma, his phone buzzed with a message from his business partner. The message was simple, asking him to meet for an urgent business discussion. He sighed, knowing that the weight of his personal life couldn't keep him from his responsibilities. He grabbed his coat and headed out, but as he drove, his mind wandered back to Emma. Was this relationship even real? The mansion, the lifestyle, the promises of a perfect future. It all seemed so much like a dream now, slipping through his fingers. Liam arrived at the cafe where he was supposed to meet his partner, but his mind wasn't in the meeting. He sat across from his partner, listening, but barely processing the words being spoken. He nodded at the right moments, pretending to pay attention, but all he could think about was Emma and the life they had planned. After the meeting, Liam couldn't wait any longer. He needed to talk to her again. He had to understand what this all meant, and whether they could move forward. He called her, and after a few rings, she picked up. Liam. Her voice sounded distant, hesitant, but still warm. Emma, we need to talk, Liam said, his voice serious. There was a pause on the other end of the line. He could almost hear her breath catch, as if she knew exactly what he was going to say. I know, she replied softly. I've been thinking about it too. Can we meet? He agreed, and within the hour, they were sitting together at a quiet park, the same place where they had spent so many happy afternoons before everything started to unravel. As Liam watched Emma, he saw the woman he had fallen in love with, but he also saw someone who had been carrying a heavy burden alone for far too long. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with vulnerability. Liam, I know I should have told you sooner, but I didn't know how. I didn't want you to think less of me, or worse, that you would leave. Liam sighed, the weight of her words pressing down on him. Emma, I don't know what to think right now, he said, his voice low. I've always believed in honesty, and I thought we were building something real, but this feels like a lie. It wasn't a lie, Emma said quickly, her hands trembling in her lap. I love you, Liam, but my family needed me, and I thought if I just kept it all together, you wouldn't have to worry. I didn't want to drag you into their mess. She paused, her eyes searching his face for some sign of understanding. I didn't want you to see me as weak. Liam could feel the sincerity in her words, but he also felt the weight of her secret pressing against him. The betrayal was hard to ignore, but as he looked at her, he realized that the love he had for her hadn't disappeared. I don't know if I can just move past this, Liam admitted. But I also don't want to. Walk away from something that could be real. Emma reached for his hand, her touch gentle and hesitant. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I promise you, I never wanted to hurt you. It's just been so complicated. Liam stared at their hands, the connection between them palpable despite the confusion that clouded his mind. Emma, I need time, he said finally. But I'm willing to try, if you are. She nodded, her eyes softening with relief. I'll do whatever it takes, Liam. I just need you to know that I'm here, and I'm ready to work through this. As the sun began to set, casting a soft golden light over the park, Liam felt a glimmer of hope. It wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't going to happen overnight, but maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild what had been broken. For now, that was enough. The days that followed were a mix of uncertainty and tentative hope. Liam had agreed to give Emma the time she needed to prove that their relationship could still work, but in the back of his mind, he couldn't help but wonder how things had gotten so complicated. His world had been shaken, and yet, his feelings for Emma hadn't disappeared. Every time they spoke, there was a flicker of the love they once shared, but trust was something that would take time to rebuild. Emma, for her part, seemed more determined than ever. She called him every day, updating him on the progress with her family, trying to make amends for the mess they had put her in. Every time she spoke about her family, it was clear that she had been carrying a heavy burden. They had asked so much of her, and now that the truth was out, there was no turning back. She needed to confront the reality of her family's situation and find a way to get them back on track without losing herself in the process. One evening, after another long day at work, Liam found himself walking through the park alone, the cool breeze brushing against his skin as he thought about everything Emma had said. They had agreed to take things slow, to let the healing process happen naturally, but the uncertainty still lingered. Was he making the right decision? Could he really move past the betrayal? Or was this just another mistake that would eventually tear them apart? His thoughts were interrupted when he received a text from Emma. I need to see you. There's something important I need to tell you. His heart skipped a beat. He didn't know if it was good or bad news, but he couldn't ignore it. They had been slowly repairing the cracks in their relationship, but he had a feeling that tonight would be a turning point. They met at their usual cafe, the place where they first started getting to know each other. As Liam walked in, he spotted Emma sitting at a corner table, her face serious but calm. She looked up as he approached, and for the first time in a while, he noticed the exhaustion in her eyes. The weight of everything was starting to show. Hey, she said softly, her voice tired but warm. Thanks for meeting me. Liam smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. Of course. What's on your mind? Emma took a deep breath, her fingers nervously tracing the edge of her coffee cup. I've been talking to my family, she began, her voice hesitant. I've finally gotten through to them. They're ready to face the truth and take responsibility for what's happened. But there's more to it. I've been asked to take a more active role in the business. They want me to step in and help them rebuild. Liam raised an eyebrow, trying to understand. So, you're going to be more involved with their finances? Yes, Emma replied, her gaze steady. But there's more to it than that. I realized something important over the past few days. I've been running away from the responsibility of this family for so long, but I can't keep doing that. I have to find a balance between helping them and taking care of myself. But I can't do this alone, Liam. I need you. Liam sat back in his chair, the weight of her words sinking in. I know this is a lot to ask, but I need your support, she continued, her voice full of emotion. I love you, and I want to build a life with you, but I also have to step up for my family. I need to know that you'll be there for me, that you'll stand by my side through this. Liam looked at her, the decision weighing heavily on his shoulders. He had never expected to be in a situation like this. But as he looked at Emma, he saw the sincerity in her eyes, the same woman he had fallen in love with, the same woman who had just been trying to do the right thing. He thought about his own values, about how he had spent so much of his life focused on success and achievement. But this was different. This was about something real. I'll support you, Liam said, his voice firm. I'm not going to walk away, not now. We'll figure this out together. But you have to promise me something. Emma looked at him, waiting for him to continue. Promise me that we'll communicate, that we won't hide things from each other. No more secrets, he said, his tone serious but gentle. Emma nodded, her eyes filling with tears. I promise, she whispered. No more secrets. As the night went on, they talked for hours, discussing everything from their future together to the steps Emma would take to help her family. It wasn't going to be easy, but they were both committed to making it work. And for the first time in a long while, Liam felt a sense of peace. He didn't have all the answers, but he knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. The days that followed were filled with quiet determination. Liam and Emma worked together to rebuild the fragile trust between them. She was juggling her new responsibilities with her family's business, and he was trying to stay focused on his own career while supporting her in every way he could. It wasn't easy, but they both knew they were trying. Emma had become more open with him, sharing her struggles and fears about her family's future, and Liam had become more patient, giving her the space she needed while still offering his support. But as the weeks passed, Emma started to feel the pressure mounting. The business was in worse shape than she had initially realized, and her family's problems were more complex than they had let on. Every day seemed to bring a new challenge, and she found herself spending more and more time at the office, leaving Liam alone in their apartment more than she had intended. He noticed the distance growing between them, the subtle shift that came with her increasing responsibilities. He could see the exhaustion in her eyes when she came home late, the frustration in her voice when she spoke about the business. But despite everything, he never stopped believing in her, never stopped trying to show her that he was there for her. One evening, after another long day, Emma came home later than usual, her face drawn with fatigue. Liam was waiting for her on the couch, a cup of tea in hand, his eyes soft with concern. She smiled weakly at him, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I'm sorry I've been distant," she said quietly, sitting down beside him. There's so much going on, and I don't know how to fix it all. I thought I could handle it, but now I feel like I'm drowning." Liam set the cup down and took her hand, his touch gentle but firm. "Emma, you don't have to do this alone," he said softly. "I'm here for you, no matter what. We'll figure this out together." Emma squeezed his hand, but her eyes filled with tears. "I'm scared, Liam," she admitted, her voice breaking. "I don't know if I'm strong enough to handle this. What if I fail? What if I let everyone down?" Liam pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as she let the tears fall. He didn't have all the answers, but in that moment, he knew that all she needed was reassurance, a reminder that she wasn't alone. "You're not alone," he whispered. "I believe in you, and I believe in us." The silence between them was comfortable, the kind that only existed when two people truly understood each other's pain. After a while, Emma pulled back slightly, wiping her eyes. "I'm sorry I've been so wrapped up in everything. I know I've been neglecting you, but I promise I'm not doing it on purpose." Liam smiled softly. "I know," he said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "But I also know that we need to find a balance. Your family needs you, but so do I. And I need you to take care of yourself too, Emma." She nodded, looking down at her hands. "I don't know how to balance it all," she said quietly. "I feel like I'm failing everyone." Liam lifted her chin gently, his eyes locking with hers. "You're not failing, Emma. You're just human, and we all need help sometimes. If you ever feel overwhelmed, talk to me. We'll figure it out together." Emma looked at him, a sense of relief washing over her. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice full of gratitude. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Liam smiled, his heart swelling with affection for the woman in front of him. "You'll never have to find out. I'm not going anywhere." They sat in silence for a while. The weight of the world momentarily lifted from their shoulders. Emma knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but with Liam by her side, she felt a sense of hope she hadn't had in a long time. As the night grew darker, they sat together on the couch, simply being there for each other, knowing that no matter what happened, they would face it as a team. And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt like maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. Weeks passed, and the tension that had once gripped their relationship began to ease. Emma and Liam found themselves slowly rebuilding the life they had envisioned together. She had continued to balance the weight of her family's business and her personal life, but now, Liam was right by her side, supporting her every step of the way. His encouragement helped her believe in herself again, and his unwavering faith in her slowly replaced the doubts she had carried for so long. However, as Emma grew more involved in her family's affairs, a new challenge began to surface. The deeper she delved into the business, the more she realized how much her family had hidden from her. There were debts they had failed to disclose, shady deals, and broken promises. The situation was worse than she had thought, and the pressure was starting to take its toll. Emma had always believed in the power of hard work and loyalty, but now she was questioning whether those values were enough to save her family. As she sat in the office one evening, sifting through piles of paperwork, she felt a familiar wave of anxiety wash over her. The thought of letting Liam down again, of not being able to fix things, was too much to bear. She closed her eyes, her mind racing, when she felt a soft tap on her shoulder. She turned, to find Liam standing there, a concerned expression on his face. "Hey," he said gently, "you've been in here for hours. I thought we could grab some dinner." Emma smiled weakly, standing up from her desk. "I'm sorry, I've just been thinking about everything. It's all piling up, and I don't know how to fix it." Liam reached for her hand, pulling her toward him. "You don't have to fix everything on your own, Emma. I'm here. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." Emma's eyes welled with tears as she looked up at him. "I don't want to drag you into this mess," she whispered, her voice trembling. "But it feels like everything is falling apart." Liam cupped her face in his hands, his gaze steady and full of love. "You're not dragging me into anything. This is our life, Emma, and I'm here for all of it, good and bad. We're a team. We always have been, and we always will be." The sincerity in his words calmed her, and for the first time in days, Emma felt a weight lift from her chest. They weren't alone in this. They had each other, and together, they could face whatever came their way. They spent the evening together, enjoying a quiet dinner, talking about everything and nothing. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it felt like the first step toward healing. As the days passed, Emma began to see a path forward. She started making small but significant changes in the business, taking control of the finances and restructuring the most damaging deals. It wasn't easy, and there were many late nights, but Liam was always there, a steady presence who never wavered. He helped her make tough decisions, provided advice when needed, and reminded her every day that she wasn't alone in this fight. Slowly, the pieces began to fall into place. Emma's confidence grew as she gained more control over the situation. The weight of the responsibility still loomed, but it wasn't as suffocating as it had been before. She felt empowered by Liam's support and her own ability to navigate the challenges ahead. One night, as they sat together in their apartment, Emma turned to Liam, a thoughtful expression on her face. "I don't know what I would have done without you," she said quietly. Liam smiled, reaching for her hand. "You would have made it through. You're stronger than you think, Emma. But I'm glad I could be here to help. We're in this together, and I always will be." Emma's heart swelled with love for him. It wasn't just the grand gestures or the big moments that mattered. It was the quiet support, the understanding, and the unwavering belief in each other. She had always known that she loved Liam, but now, she realized that their love wasn't just about the good times. It was about standing together through the hard times, supporting each other when the world felt heavy, and never giving up. As the weeks turned into months, their relationship grew even stronger. They continued to face the challenges together, and though there were still difficult days, Emma knew she had found something real. She had found a partner who loved her not just for who she was, but for the person she was becoming. And with Liam by her side, she knew that no matter what the future held, they could overcome anything. As the months went by, Emma and Liam's relationship seemed to settle into a rhythm, one built on mutual respect, love, and, most importantly, trust. The cracks that once threatened to break them apart were slowly healing, and each day brought them closer. Emma had managed to get a better hold on her family's business, turning the tide on the financial troubles that had been overwhelming her. She was no longer just the daughter trying to save a sinking ship. She had become the leader her family needed, and with Liam by her side, she felt more confident than ever. But as much as Emma had grown, there was still one part of her past that needed to be addressed. Her family's secret, the debt they had hidden for so long, was still something she carried with her. Though she had made significant progress, the burden of their past mistakes weighed heavily on her shoulders. One evening, as they sat together in their apartment, Emma finally spoke about it. "Liam, there's still one thing I haven't dealt with," she began, her voice low. "My family. They're still hiding so much from me, and I don't know if I can ever truly move forward without confronting it all." Liam put down the book he had been reading and turned to face her, his expression soft and understanding. "You've already done so much, Emma," he said gently. "You've taken control of the business. You've proven you're capable of handling everything. But I get it. It's hard to move on when there are still things left unresolved. Emma sighed, running her fingers through her hair. I just don't know where to start. I've been trying to fix everything, but it feels like there's always another layer. I need to confront them, but I'm scared. What if they don't listen? What if they turn their backs on me? Liam reached out and took her hand, holding it firmly in his. They'll listen, he said confidently. You've already shown them what you're capable of. They might be scared, but they'll see that you're the one they need. Emma looked at him, her heart swelling with gratitude. I don't know what I'd do without you, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Liam smiled, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. You won't have to find out. We're in this together, always. The next day, Emma made the difficult decision to sit down with her family. She arranged a meeting with her parents and siblings, determined to finally face the truth. As she sat at the table, the tension was palpable. Her family looked at her with a mixture of guilt and uncertainty, their eyes avoiding hers. For a moment, she felt the old familiar fear creeping in, the fear of being judged, of being told she wasn't enough. But as she looked around the room, she realized something. She was no longer the young woman who had been afraid to speak up. She was the woman who had taken control, who had proven she could lead. And it was time for them to see that. I know things haven't been easy, Emma started, her voice steady. But we need to face the truth about everything. The debts, the mistakes, the secrets. We need to stop hiding. Her father looked up, his face tired and worn. Emma, I know we've kept things from you, he said quietly. We were trying to protect you, but in doing so, we've only made things worse. Emma nodded, her heart heavy. I know, but hiding it from me didn't protect me. It just kept me in the dark. And I can't keep carrying this burden alone. We need to work together, as a family, to fix it. There was a long silence, and for a moment, Emma wondered if they would resist, if they would push her away like they had so many times before. But then, her mother reached across the table, taking her hand. You're right, she said softly. We've made mistakes, and it's time we all face the consequences. Emma's heart swelled with relief. Finally, her family was ready to take responsibility. They spent the next few hours talking through everything. The mistakes, the debt, the way forward. It wasn't easy, but it felt like a weight had been lifted from Emma's shoulders. For the first time in years, she felt like they were truly working together. After the meeting, Emma called Liam, her voice trembling with emotion. I did it, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I finally got them to face the truth. Liam's voice was full of pride. I knew you could. I'm so proud of you, Emma. She smiled, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. She wasn't alone anymore. With Liam by her side, with her family finally on the path to healing, Emma knew that they had a long road ahead, but together, they could face anything. As she looked out the window, watching the sunset paint the sky with colors of hope, Emma felt like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. The following weeks were filled with a renewed sense of purpose for Emma and her family. They worked together to restructure the business, tackling the issues head-on. It wasn't easy, and there were times when Emma felt overwhelmed, but with each small victory, she felt more confident. Liam was always there, by her side, offering support whenever she needed it. He had become more than just a partner. He was her rock, the one person who believed in her even when she doubted herself. Every evening, they would sit together, going over plans and discussing their progress. Emma had started to feel that the pieces of her life were finally falling into place. Her family was coming together to heal old wounds, and with Liam's help, she was able to balance her responsibilities with them and her own dreams. One evening, after another long day at the office, Liam pulled Emma aside as she was about to head to her study. Hey, I've been meaning to ask you something, he said, his voice casual but with a hint of excitement. Emma turned, raising an eyebrow. What's up? Liam took her hand, his smile warm. You've been working so hard on everything, and I know how much this means to you, but I want to ask you something important. His sudden seriousness made her heart skip a beat. She felt a flutter of nerves. What is it? She asked, her voice soft. Liam paused for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts. Then, he took a deep breath and dropped to one knee. Emma gasped, her eyes widening in surprise. Her heart raced as he pulled out a small velvet box from his pocket and opened it to reveal a beautiful diamond ring. Emma Brooks, he began, his voice full of sincerity. I've watched you grow, not just as a leader, but as a person. You've shown me what it means to be strong, to fight for what matters, and to never give up. I know we've been through so much together, and I want to keep building this life with you, through all the challenges, the victories, and everything in between. Will you marry me? Tears sprang to Emma's eyes as she stared at him in disbelief. She hadn't expected this, not now, not after everything they had been through. But as she looked at him, she realized that the love between them had grown in ways she couldn't have imagined. Yes, she whispered, her voice trembling. Yes, I will marry you. Liam's face broke into a wide grin as he slid the ring onto her finger. He pulled her into a tight embrace, and they stood there for a moment, just holding each other. Emma felt a rush of emotions, joy, relief, gratitude. In that moment, everything felt right. She had fought so hard to get to this point, to rebuild her life, and now, with Liam by her side, she could finally see a future full of possibilities. They spent the rest of the evening celebrating their engagement, the warmth of the moment filling their hearts. The next day, as they walked through the park, hand in hand, Emma realized that everything she had gone through had led her to this point. The struggles, the doubts, the pain, it had all shaped her into the person she was today. And with Liam, she knew she could face whatever came next. They had built a foundation of trust, love, and support, and together, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. As they sat on a bench overlooking the lake, Liam turned to her, his smile tender. I'm so proud of you, Emma, he said softly. You've done amazing things, and now, I get to be by your side for the rest of it. Emma smiled back, feeling a sense of peace she had never known before. I couldn't have done it without you, she replied, squeezing his hand. You've been my strength. They sat in silence for a while, just enjoying each other's company. The future seemed bright, full of love and new beginnings. They had come so far, and now, they were ready to take the next step together. Emma knew that their journey was far from over, but with Liam by her side, she felt ready for whatever challenges and triumphs lay ahead. Together, they would build a life that was strong, resilient, and full of love, one step at a time. Months passed, and Emma and Liam's life together continued to flourish. The weight of the past had not disappeared entirely, but it no longer held the same power over them. Emma's family had come to terms with their mistakes, working together to repair the damage they had caused. Her relationship with them was still complicated, but there was a sense of reconciliation. She had proven herself, not only as a daughter but as a woman who could lead, who could handle anything life threw her way. And as time went on, Emma's relationship with Liam grew even stronger. Their bond, built on mutual respect and understanding, deepened as they faced new challenges and celebrated new victories. They were partners, not just in business, but in life. One evening, as they sat together in their cozy living room, enjoying the quiet after a long day, Emma turned to Liam with a thoughtful expression. I've been thinking about something, she said, her voice soft but serious. Liam looked at her, his curiosity piqued. What is it? We've been through so much together, Emma began, her eyes searching his face. And I know we've talked about the future, but I feel like it's time to take the next step. Liam's heart skipped a beat. He knew that their future was something they had both been thinking about, but hearing her speak about it so openly brought a rush of emotions. What do you mean? He asked gently, not wanting to rush her, but eager to understand. Emma smiled, a look of determination in her eyes. I want to build something together. Something that's ours, something that lasts. I want to build our own legacy. Liam's heart swelled with pride as he realized what she was saying. They had already started their lives together, but Emma was talking about something more, about creating a future that wasn't just about surviving, but thriving. I've been thinking the same thing, he said, his voice filled with excitement. We've come so far, and now it's time to dream even bigger. Let's make our own mark on the world, Emma. As the days went on, they began to work toward this new dream, this new chapter in their lives. They started planning their future together, blending their passions and skills to create something meaningful. Emma's vision for the future had always been focused on helping others, and Liam's drive to build something impactful fit perfectly with her dreams. Together, they began to create a foundation, one that would focus on giving back to the community, helping young artists find their voices, and empowering others to build the futures they dreamed of. They poured their hearts into the project, using everything they had learned from their own experiences to make a real difference. The journey wasn't without its challenges, but every step forward brought them closer to their goal. And through it all, they never lost sight of each other. They worked late into the night, but always found time to share quiet moments, to laugh, to love. Their partnership became the driving force behind everything they did. One day, as they stood together at the opening of their foundation's first event, Emma looked at Liam, her heart full. "We did it," she whispered, a sense of awe in her voice. Liam smiled, his hand resting on hers. "No, we're just getting started." The event was a success, and as the evening went on, Emma and Liam shared their vision with the world. Their foundation was just the beginning, a symbol of everything they had worked for and everything they hoped to accomplish. It wasn't just about giving back. It was about creating a future where people could follow their dreams, no matter their background, no matter the odds stacked against them. As they stood there, together, Emma realized how far she had come. From a woman who once felt like she had to carry the weight of the world alone, to a woman who had found her equal, her partner, in every sense of the word. Liam was no longer just the man she had fallen in love with. He was the person who made her believe in herself again, who reminded her that she wasn't alone, that they were in this together. And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt a deep sense of peace. Life had thrown many challenges their way, but they had faced them together, and together, they would continue to build the future they had always dreamed of. As the night drew to a close, they stood side by side, ready for whatever came next. The future was bright, full of possibilities, and with each other, they knew they could face anything. This was only the beginning.